Buffalo Bills could save $14 million if we land on a defensive tackle in the 2023 NFL Draft. So we need to explore the top defensive tackles for Bills Mafia, and that is a guy, Siaki Ika, I've been high on. Keeanu, Benton, that I think is definitely rising off the charts for Bills Mafia. And then you have some other people really high on Mazi Smith, and we also have a guy, Bryan, Bresee, from Clemson. We have to talk about each and every single one of these players, whether they're a fit, and we have some serious flaws, potentially the biggest character flaw in this year's NFL Draft. Would the Buffalo Bills consider him? Welcome to my channel here, Bills News Consolidated. We got to discuss it. Defensive tackle, Brandon Beane even admitted that defensive tackle is an extreme need here. You got guys like Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, even Ed Oliver. Everybody here, Jordan Phillips, under these contracts. When you add up Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, and Daquan Jones, if all these guys are gone and we land on a defensive tackle, we're going to be saving $14 million. Ed Oliver's market cap is a little over $10 million, so they would give us money to re-sign Ed, but Ed actually flexing in that fifth-year option for Bills Mafia has a huge year to prove himself, and I think he definitely will, being paired next to Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham. I really think there's going to be some progression there from Ed. Keep in mind, he got hurt earlier in the year. As soon as he got back to 100% health, Von Miller got hurt and was out for the season. So we really have not seen that full potential of this defensive line. Now we're going to be talking about adding in this defensive tackle. What type of defensive tackle is that going to be? A lot of people want Mazi Smith. He fits the measurables, right? Did an excellent job in college, strong hands, doing all these things. But the problem with Mazi Smith is that he actually got arrested in a quite bit confusing case. He was charged with a felony charge that was dropped to a misdemeanor. He was in the process of getting a permit license for his pistol, and he got pulled over driving 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. They found the gun not sealed in a case and actually charged him. So we know the baggage that comes with that. Matt Ariza last year, the punter going through everything, is Mazi Smith off the Buffalo Bills list. But you take a look at other measurables and the stats, right? He didn't really perform at the combine, but he did things at his pro day that statistically would have set records at the NFL Combine, Mazi Smith. You look at Harrison Phillips, drafted in the third round by the Buffalo Bills, kind of that plug, that nose tackle type, similar to Mazi Smith. Harrison Phillips had 42 on the bench. Mazi Smith only had 34. So there's still some growth and development. And I want to say that is the case for all of these defensive tackles coming out in this year's draft. The Buffalo Bills have a perfect leap year here for this defensive tackle to get stronger, to learn behind Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips, right? So the other guy here that Bills Mafia really wants is Bryan Bresee from Clemson. He's a little bit taller, 6'5", 298, really not that big nose tackle type that we would want, more of a pass rushing type. You know, but the other thing to keep in mind is that he tore his ACL. He's coming off an ACL injury. Now he's proven that he's healthy, and he's proven that he's a dynamic threat, especially as a pass rusher. We've been discussing that here. The Buffalo Bills offense forces opposing teams to pass the ball to try to keep up and run up that score with the Bills. So maybe the Buffalo Bills transition not only from Tremaine Edmonds, who lacked in pass coverage, but maybe a defensive tackle that could pass rush as well. So instead of having Ed Oliver be that primary pass rusher in the interior, Ed Oliver, that defensive tackle, that's that pass rusher for Bills Mafia, maybe the Buffalo Bills want another pass rusher next to him instead of a Daquan Jones, right? Instead of a Jordan Phillips, right? You still have to do both, but both these guys can take on double teams and help out and run support. And I really think the Buffalo Bills' best fits here would be Siaki Ika, and then my top guy, I'm going to have to change it here, is Keeanu Benton. Keeanu Benton is a great defensive tackle. He's 6'3", just over 300 pounds, 309 pounds. They have him listed at, and that's right around where Harrison Phillips was at. And I think he's going to be strong enough. You know, only 25 on the bench. But again, we have this year, this leap year to get stronger, to learn, to develop in the background. And this could be an insurance pick for the Buffalo Bills later in the draft. Keeanu Benton, if we land this guy, I think he can come in on a 4-year deal, potentially replace Jordan Phillips in 2024, replace Tim Settle, Daquan Jones in 2024. I really am digging this guy. And Siaki Ika, 6'3", 330 pounds, low leverage wins. And I talk about complimenting Ed. The problem with Siaki Ika and also Benton is that they don't have a lot of sacks. They're not really great pass rushers. But again, Ed Oliver is that interior pass rusher for the Buffalo Bills. If you want to double team Ed, we could bull rush you with this big beast mode Keeanu, Benton, or Siaki Ika, right? Or if you want to double team one of the big guys, then we have Ed one-on-one next to Von Miller, pass rushing right to the quarterback. It is so ideal for the Buffalo Bills to land a defensive tackle in this year's NFL draft because we can't keep going on allocating this much money to one-year deals at the defensive tackle spot. Yes, it's going to free up $14 million, and Ed Oliver is going to definitely be a free agent at the end of this year. We already flexed that fifth-year option. Ed Oliver, if he has a great year, he's going to exceed $10 million. We could even see 11, 12, 13, $14 million for Ed Oliver come free agency. The Buffalo Bills are in a dire need to draft and land a defensive tackle in this year's NFL draft. Will it be 27th overall? I think that's a little bit high. So the Bills, I really think, are eyeing up Jack Campbell at that 27th overall pick. Mentioned in my previous video that we have some teams that we have to be concerned about drafting another linebacker. Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys. There are some teams there that could easily draft a linebacker ahead of the Bills. Even Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Devin White on the trade block. We have to keep this all in mind. So if Jack Campbell is gone by the Buffalo Bills' 27th overall pick, or if we're unable to trade up for Jack Campbell, a guy like Benton could be an insurance draft pick, or Brandon B could very well opt to trade down and get a different player and get Benton a little bit later in the NFL draft. Really think this is a huge deal for the Bills, and you really don't know what's going to happen. They're saying this is such a wide spread of talent. We got to see what's going to actually unfold here, what player is actually going to be available for the Buffalo Bills. But Mazi Smith, again, that arrest record, knowing that that's still there, I'm a firm believer that a lot of people create their own problems. There's no reason he should have been driving 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. He would have never been caught with that. Although the case was he was already in classes to get the permit and get the license. He was doing everything right. He still didn't have it secured in the case. It's just a shame to see that. But working with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, knowing that he's going to be prepared for the NFL, and he fits the measurables, right? He's still a decent pass rusher, right? He has decent change of direction skills for being that big. Same with Benton, though, too. I just don't think there's a top-tier dog that the Buffalo Bills could land at that 27th overall pick. We're going to definitely find them a little bit later in the NFL draft. But if you guys enjoyed this video, hope you guys found it informative. Defensive tackle is definitely a player going to be brought in here to the Buffalo Bills. I guarantee it. If you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe. Go Bills!